What's up, guys? Fat Archon here, bringing another army view video. Today we're doing a fun one. We're doing the Thousand Suns. Holy cow! Did GW do pretty good with this index? I would definitely think this is one of the stronger books that have come out. Thousand Suns are definitely looking pretty. It almost seems like they're like flying under the radar at the moment because of the other armies that are pretty more like obviously busted. These guys very well could be like the strongest army once the other ones get brought down a notch. So I'm very impressed with what I saw with Thousand Suns. It's kind of hilarious too if you compare them to the other Chaos armies that came out. Like almost across the board, they're either cheaper or better, or like versus something like Death Guard, both. It's kind of crazy how much power they jammed into one book. Very, very, very impressed with Thousand Suns. It's gonna be a lot to go over, so we'll just jump right in. So their army rule is incredibly powerful and very thematic. They get Cabal as sorcerers, so at the end of each of your command phases, you count out your Cabal points. Certain units are going to generate Cabal points for you, so most of the characters are going to give between 2, all the way up to like 4 for like Magnus, for example. And then your Rubrics and your Scarabs, they're going to give you 1 point each as well. The average list I've been making so far is usually between like 10 to like even up to like 14 Cabal points, so you definitely have a fair amount. And as we learn the armies better and learn the meta and all this stuff better, we'll be able to plan out exactly which abilities we're going to use and when. So that might change as well. You might be able to like, ooh, I definitely need 14 so I can do Doombolt twice or something like that. The first one that you get is Weaver of Fates. So this only costs 2 Cabal points. Basically, you choose one of your Cycler models at the start of a phase. And then any Thousand Suns unit within 18 inches of them, once they get to reroll a failed saving throw. So you don't get to do it on multiple units, but one of them will get to reroll one of their saves. And, you know, it's kind of funky that you have to choose in the beginning of a phase, so you have to, like, think, ooh, okay, that guy's probably going to fail a save right there. But there's going to be plenty of times when you have just 2 points left over, so that's a fantastic, just, like, extra little perk to have. The next ability is incredibly powerful, Temporal Surge. So this one's only 5 Cabal points. Similar thing, so you pick a model at the start of the shooting phase, and then any unit within 18 inches of them just gets a free move. That's incredible. That is incredible. Movement wins games in 40k. Giving somebody double move, holy cow, dude, that's just really good. Obvious combos come up, so you got a Rhino full of important units that you need to get up the board. Boom, he just moves, what, it'd be 24 inches that turn? All sorts of crazy stuff with that. That is incredibly powerful, and only 5 Cabal points. I really like that one. The next one they got Echoes from the Warp, so you can use it any phase. Once you use it, basically the Psyker's unit can use a Stratagem for 0 CP, so for free, even if it's already been used before by somebody else that phase. Again, another incredibly powerful one. I love this one probably the most because it just gives you so many different options. You can Rapid Ingress twice, which is incredibly powerful. You can Overwatch twice, which is like dumb powerful. So many interesting and fun little combos are going to come from that. That's definitely something you want to like plan for and try to keep in your back pocket if you can. The next one, also incredibly powerful. I'm seeing a theme here. Doombolt, this one does cost 7 Cabal points. Basically, in your shooting phase, you choose one of your units, and then you choose an enemy unit within 18 inches invisible. You roll a d6, no matter what, they're taking mortal wounds. So on a 1, they take d3 mortal wounds. On a 2 to 5, they take 3 plus d3, holy cow. And on a 6, they're going to take d3 plus 6 mortal wounds. Holy cow! Where this is like incredibly useful too, like it doesn't have any rider against like lone operative or anything like that. So any sneaky little character trying to make his way across, well, yeah, let's just kill him. What's cool too, so there are ways to use these twice. So pretty much any model that has 3 wounds, you could even argue 5 wounds because on average the 2 to 5 will do 5 wounds on average. Any model with 10 wounds or less, you can pretty much guarantee will die. This might be too powerful, in fact. I guess time will tell, but holy cow, man. This makes Thousand Suns like the best sniping army, period, I would say, or one of. The final one, oh my gosh, it just keeps getting better. Twist of Fate, this one costs 9 points, so a boatload, but there are ways to make it free. Basically, you choose a start of any phase, so it can be fight or shooting. You choose an enemy unit within 18, and they don't get armor saves. Holy cow, there are so many units that is basically going to like flip the damage on its head. Terminators, perfect example. So many times where they'll come in handy. It is kind of expensive, and also it could be argued that a lot of times you'll be able to melt units even without it, but oh my god, especially if you use it for free or whatever, very powerful. This is like insanely good. This is well done, GW, well done. For their detachment ability, so in your command phase, you get to choose between 1 of 3 buffs for all of your psychic weapons. So do be careful on who you're using it on. The profile needs to, needs to be psychic, or you need to use a stratagem to make it psychic. The main ones where this might come up is going to be like defilers and predators and that sort of stuff. They don't have the psychic ability, at least none that I'm aware of. The first one you get to choose, you can make all the psychic weapons lethal hits. That's fantastic. If you're going against knights, for example, you'll probably use that every time. Second one is going to be sustain hits 1. Also incredibly good. More is always better. So for stuff like if you're going bolters or whatever, fantastic, getting extra hits on those. The last one is going to be devastating wounds. Yet again, incredibly powerful. You might argue even that this could be better versus knights, because you'll be wounded on 6s a lot of times, and this gives you those mortal wounds. It all depends on, how the saves and what the army looks like, but either way, all of these, all 3 of those are fantastic choices. Getting to choose between them each command phase as well. Very much like it. For stratagems, alright. Thousand Sons might have the best set of stratagems. Very much might have the very best. So, alright, the first one, Psychic Dominion. So, any phase, right after an enemy selected its unit, you can choose one of your Thousand Sons that was one of the targets. Until the end of the phase, any attacks with psychic weapons, they get the hazardous ability, and you also get a 4-up feel no pain against those psychic attacks. This one won't come up very often, but in cases where you are fighting an army that has psychic weapons mainly, maybe it's a mirror match or something like that, very, very powerful. A 4-up feel no pain would be the most important part of that. The next one, Destin of Fate, only 1 command point. Basically, you choose it when a Thousand Sons Psyker from your model has taken damage. You change the damage characteristic of that to 0. This might be something you use every turn as you start to get like into the heat of the game where models are dying left and right. Incredibly powerful. You can do that on like a 12 damage attack or whatever. You can change it to 0. Very good. Devastating Sorcery, only 1 command point. It only goes off in your shooting phase, but you choose a Thousand Sons Psyker unit. Until the end of the phase, each time a model makes a psychic attack, you can reroll the hit roll and you reroll the wound roll. So normally there aren't that many, as many psychic profiles as you might like, but when you combine it with the next one, Ensorcelled Infusion, shooting phase, you choose one of your units. Basically, all of their bolters, all their Inferno bolters and Inferno combi weapons, they all become psychic. And they get strength 5. So you combine those 2 together. It will cost 2 CP if you do it. You're rerolling all hits, all wounds, getting strength 5. It's incredibly powerful. The Ensorcelled Infusion, give them the psychic tag as well. There's other stuff that I'll key off of. That is like, whew, very, very, very good. Now, I will admit, CP generation isn't something that Thousand Sons have that many options for, so it's going to be very important that you, like, figure out how to use your command points wisely. Definitely is going to be one of the armies that are, like, starving for command points, so is something to bear in mind. Very powerful combos that you can do, but you'll be limited in how many times you can do them. Next up, you got Sorcerer's Might. So again, shooting phase, 1 Thousand Sons Psyker. Until the end of the phase, you can add 9 inch to the range of your psychic weapons. Again, that can combo with the other one. I don't think you'll use this one too often, but there might come a time when, you need that extra 9 inches, get up to 33 inches with your bolters or whatever. So, it can affect the game. The last one is going to be Warp Sight. Again, shooting phase. 1 Psyker unit from your army. Basically, all their psychic attacks get indirect fire and ignores cover. This one actually, so you do need to read the wording on this one. The effect. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Thousand Sons Psyker model makes an attack with a psychic weapon, they get indirect fire and ignores cover. It is also 2 CP, so that one's actually not as good as it might seem at first. 2 CP, so like on Scarab Occults, you'll get the any characters you attach to it, and then the squad lead. Those are pretty much the only 2 that'll get to use it, so it's really not as powerful as you might want, especially the 2 CP. So that one, not as good, but we got so many insanely good options, it's okay. Ugh. Yet another fantastic section here, Enhancements. There's so many themes. So every list I've written for Thousand Sons, like, I go way over points at first because there's so much stuff I want to bring, including the enhancements. That said, these are pretty cheap. They, I think the most expensive is like 25, and I believe they go from 10. No, okay, so 15 to 25. First one, incredibly good. probably an auto-include. Most of my lists want to keep this one. Lord of the Forbidden Lore. So, essentially, the bearer can use a ritual that somebody else has already used that phase. Fantastic. So this is how you can do the double Doom Bolt, or the double Temporal Surge, or the double whatever. Very, 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 very powerful. Again, I think that one's 25. It is 25, so tidbit spendy, but whatever, man. I think it might be worth it. Athenian Scrolls, not that good. You can generate an extra Cabal point, whatever. I'd rather just bring another squad of Rubrics. Umbralific Crystal. Very powerful. You guys might be familiar with this from 9th. Essentially, the bearer's unit can deep strike anywhere onto the board. So you can pick them up in your reinforcement step, and then in the next movement phase, you get to drop them down anywhere 9 inches away. Very powerful. That gives you some of the better movement of any of the armies in the game. Kind of makes you like a pseudo-Grey Knights for one unit, but still, very powerful, very good to have. Last one is also pretty good. Arcane Vortex. Depends who you put it on, but you add 1 to the strength and the damage characteristic for the psychic weapons that they have. That can come in pretty handy for, like, Demon Prince or other similar models that are like beat sticks. Who doesn't like having extra damage on them? Very much I like those. Lord of Forbidden Lore, I do think is pretty much an auto-include. So could be Umbralific Crystal. I do think you'd want to bring that every time. That helps with a bunch of things. Scoring, getting line of sight on enemies, all that sort of stuff. Very, very, very powerful army rules that Thousand Suns have. I'm very impressed with it. Very happy with it. For data sheets. Alright, so we're starting off with a big one. Magnus the Red. 14-inch move, fantastic. T11, amazing. 2-up save with a 4-up invul, we like it. 16 wounds, excellent profile. For his range attacks, so he's got Gaze of Magnus, devastating wounds, psychic, 24-inch range, 3d3, hidden on 2, strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage. This guy is fantastic. It makes Mortarion look like a joke. His other ones, he's also got Tzeentch's Firestorm, which is Blast, 24-inch range, D6 plus 3, hits on 2s, strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. You'll probably be using the Gaze more often, but still, this is there with the Blast. Pretty handy to have. For melee, he's no slouches either. He gets devastating wounds. On the main strike profile, it's 7 attacks, hit on 2s, strength 16, amazing, AP 3, 3 damage. Again, makes Mortarion, well, okay, this is about even with Mortarion, but more attacks, we like it. Devastating wounds, we also like that. For his abilities, very powerful. So, at the beginning of each battle round, you get to choose from 1 of 3. The first one is anytime an attack targets Magnus, aside from psychic attacks, you can subtract 1 from the damage characteristic. Extremely powerful. This makes this guy way stronger. Damage 3 or above weapons are relatively rare. Well, they are pretty rare this edition. So being able to knock those down a peg by 33 to half damage, if it's 2 damage, very powerful. His second one's interesting. Treason of Tzeentch. So at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you can select an enemy unit within 14 inches invisible. Until the end of the phase, their ranged weapons have the hazardous ability. I will admit, so it's only going to go off, on average, it'll only go off once per 6 models in the unit, but there's certain units that are very expensive that are going to be pretty afraid to use to do shooting because they might lose it. An obvious one that comes to mind to me is like Obliterators. Like, yeah, there's only 4 of them, so you might not hit any, but still, the idea that you might kill 1, maybe you got really lucky and kill 2 just from them shooting, it's pretty great. That said, you'll probably use the other abilities first, including the next one. Time Flux, it's an aura. Basically, any Thousand Suns unit, including himself, gets plus 2 inches to their move. That is just fantastic. Again, movement wins games. This helps make Thousand Suns arguably one of the fastest armies in the game, aside from maybe Eldar or whatever. Very good. His other ability is Lord of the Planet of the Sorcerers. So while a friendly Thousand Suns Psyker unit is within 6 inches, each time they make a psychic attack, you add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. So that can combo with the stratagem we were going earlier with the bolters. Otherwise, that just gets your characters and the squad leaders, helps them do a bit more damage, which we love to see. Very powerful ability. He is a bit spendy. He's 410 points, so he's a bit more than you'd see on average. But holy cow, he is strong. He is strong. I'm not positive he goes in every list, although he very well could. Man, do I put him S tier or A+? I think I put him S tier. Again, I don't think you bring him every list because it is a big chunk of your points, but that's what we want to see for Primarchs. That sort of profile right there is what we're hoping to see, so I will put him in S tier. Ahriman. This guy has always been an extremely powerful model in the last few editions, at least. I think he'll continue to be a very powerful addition. His main reason being the abilities he has. So the first one, he gets Rubric Lord. So whatever model, whatever unit he is leading, you add 1 to the wound rolls, just period. That's fantastic. Versus like Knights or other like T10 or above, because he goes with rubrics. You can attach him to rubrics. You pretty much just doubled your damage to him, because normally we win on 6s, now you've been winning on 5s. Very powerful ability. That's fantastic. His other ability is Arch Sorcerer Zinch. So once per battle, you can select this model, use a ritual for 0 Cabal points. That also plays into the being able to use the expensive abilities like twice. Very, very good. You do want to save it for one of the better ones because it's only once per battle, but that alone almost makes Ahriman worth bringing. He's relatively affordable. I believe the base version of him is 105, 110. That's totally fair for what he's got, and he does bring some like finesse to the army and how you use those Cabal points. I'm gonna put him an A+. I do think he's A+. He's very powerful. He is debatably something you bring every single list. Him being fairly cheap, like that's pretty good. Ahriman on the disc, so basically identical, except he's on the disc, so he gets an extra, I think it's 4-inch movement. Originally, when I saw him, like, no, that's stupid. I would never bring him. This guy's trashed here. But then you realize he's only 5 more points than the baseline Ahriman, and he doesn't have the mounted keyboard. That was the other thing I was afraid of. Like, oh, now you can't go through walls. No, he doesn't have either of those. 5 points, like, yeah, it won't come up the vast majority of the times, but if you end up with an extra 5 points in your list, like, yeah, dude, just swap it out for this guy. So I'm going to put him even with Ahriman. I do think for that little of cost, like, yeah, man, I'm okay with it. Exalted Sorcerer, I think they're 80. Let's double check real quick. So 90 points. So they are a bit more expensive than some of the other characters you'd see in Chaos. Though, what he brings to the table, incredibly powerful. He can be attached to rubrics. His first ability is Arcane Shield. So while he's leading a unit, they get a 4-up invul save. Ooh, boy, that is very powerful. If you do attach him or bring him with a squad, I would definitely run a 10-man at that point, because you want to get your money's worth with it. His other ability is Rebind Rubricae. So essentially, you roll a dice on a 2 to 5. You revive 1 model in the unit. On a 6, you can revive 2 models. Fantastic. That's about, I think they're like 18 points per model. So not going to be that uncommon for you to have some dead models in the unit. Always nice to bring them back. Admittedly, not super powerful because you need to use it about 3 or 4 times, well, 4 times, get your money back, but it helps. For his weapons, nothing too special. His force weapon, so his psychic melee one, 5 attacks, hit on 2, strength 6, that's alright. -1 D3 damage, so okay, cool. We get a little bit of a multi-damage here. He also has Astral Blast, so for his range, it's Blast, fantastic. Dev Wounds, fantastic. 18-inch range, D6 attack, so variable, but whatever. Hit on 2s, strength 6, AP2, we like it. D3 damage, so again, gives you some multi-damage that you can toss out. I like the Exalted Sorcerer a lot. 80 points is very fair for what he's bringing, and that 4-up invul, that is incredibly powerful. It's debatable. Do I put him A+ or A tier? Or even S tier. I like him a lot. 4-up invul is very powerful, especially when you're getting like all the other buffs that you can toss on top. I'm liking him a lot. And reviving, very powerful. I'm going to put him A+. I think he goes A+, right behind Ahriman. Alright, Exalted Sorcerer on disc. So this guy's a bit more expensive. He's 105, I believe, just for that extra movement. Well, okay, and then he also does have a very good ability. So the first one is the same, get a 4-up invul. He also can be attached to rubrics, even though he's on a disc. Binding Tendrils is second ability. So at the end of your movement, so kind of early in the game, choose an enemy unit within 18 inches, roll a dice. On a 2-up, you have their move characteristic and their advance and charge rolls until your next command phase. Holy cow. So there's certain units, so if you were to hit my Possessed with that, I would be devastated. That would hurt very hard for certain units like that, that need to get across the board. Also, too, like faster armies, so Eldar or maybe Tau or any of that sort of stuff. That is super powerful. Now, you are paying for it, so yeah, 105, kind of spendy, but I would argue that's worth it. That's another one of those like tech pieces that you got, or like ability cards that you get to play. I super duper like that. He too belongs in A+, possibly even S tier. See what I'm talking about with thousands? Like, every single ability, every single unit we've seen so far is fantastic. And we've just started, like, yeah. Alright, okay, so here's one that is a blunder. Infernal Master, 75 points, so compared to the others, relatively cheap. Basic profile, he does have Screamer Invocation, so it is hazardous, but with the focus version. 2d6, strength 6, -2, 1 damage attacks, it's alright. I believe you can buff it with the Relic earlier, so you could get it up to 2 damage, but yeah, 4 wounds, you really don't want to hurt yourself with the hazardous. For his abilities, so while he's leading a unit, aka Rubrics, you can give him Sustain Hits 1. Probably, most likely, if you're running Rubrics, you're going to bring the Warp Flamers like 90% of the time. That's what I would bring, especially with Overwatch being such a big thing. So that doesn't do anything, unless you do bring the Bolter version, which do have a place because the Stratagem from earlier that makes them Strength 5 and all that stuff, that does only work on the Bolters, to my understanding. So that could be useful if you're bringing that unit. His second ability, Glimpse of Eternity, so he himself, once per turn, can reroll a hit roll, a wound roll, a damage roll, or saving throw. Like, that's nice to have, but he doesn't really have anything that fancy that I'd want to, like, reroll. And also, too, I should clarify, he doesn't reroll, it turns into a 6. But again, he doesn't have any D6 damage weapons or anything like that, so it's really not that good. Honestly, like, I don't know if he goes all the way to trash tier, but this guy, I don't think you ever bring him. I think I'd rather have a 4-up invul than the Sustain Hits 1. Also, too, remember that you can give your Psychic weapons Sustain Hits 1 anyways by using the Detachment ability. Yeah, I don't really like that guy. Next up, Thousand Suns Sorcerer. I feel like he's 80 points. 85 points. So again, slightly more expensive than you might see in other armies. But for that, so his first ability, Empiric Guidance. While he's leading a unit, weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Lethal Hits ability. That's actually pretty good. Like, yeah, you got the Detachment ability, but that only works on the Psychic attacks. This just works on every model in the unit, so that's pretty good. Again, you would have to bring a Bolter unit, but if you are, this would be better than Infernal Master, in my opinion. And then his other ability, Illusions of Tzeentch. While this model is leading a unit, that unit can only be selected as the target if the enemy is within 18 inches. That is fantastic. That's very powerful. Admittedly, it only will really work on the first turn, but not being able to be hit on multiple units if you need it on the first turn, very powerful ability. Again, it is debatable if you bring the Bolter rubrics or not. You probably do bring like a unit of them. But otherwise, pretty decent profile there. I'm not sure he like belongs too high up, but I'd put him in B. I was trying to see, so I guess they are like identical for the being lethal. Either way, his other ability is junk versus this guy is being pretty good. Alright, Thousand Suns Sorcerer in Terminator armor. So this guy's 105. He's very powerful in my opinion. So his first ability, identical to the other guy, you get the lethal hits. Second ability, Marked by Fate. So in your shooting phase, you can select an enemy unit within 18 inches invisible. Until the end of the turn, each time any Thousand Suns model makes an attack against them, you get to reroll hit rolls of 1. That's fantastic. That buffs your entire army, potentially. And the fact he's a Terminator, that means you can deep strike him in where you need him, do that ability, and then blast that enemy for the rest of the turn. He also has some very interesting weapon profiles. So, Coruscating Flames, Anti-Monster, Anti-Vehicle 4-up with Dev Wounds, so that's fantastic. Psychic, 18-inch range, 3 attacks, only hitting on 3s, Strength 4, -3, 2 damage. Like, yeah, it's not the highest damage ever, but you're knocking off like 2 to 4 mortal wounds each turn. I like it. Very strong, very powerful. I like this guy a lot. I do think if you're bringing Scarab Occults, you probably consider this guy pretty heavily. Yeah, I'd put him A+ tier as well. Alright, Thousand Suns Demon Prince on foot. So this is one of those areas that kind of makes you question how they pointed stuff. This guy's more expensive than the guy with wings. Arguably, he does have better abilities, but I believe he's, what is he? I think he's 205. Let's double check real quick. Yeah, or 210. So kind of silly. But with that, you do get the Demon Prince profile. So you got the Infernal Cannon, which, all right, you got a 6-shot heavy bolter, essentially. And then you do got the 3 damage melee, 6 attacks, hit on 2s, strength 8, -2, 3 damage. We like having that. For abilities, he's got the Weave of Fate. So once per battle at the start of your turn, or start of any phase, you can choose a Rubric Marines or Scarab Occult Terminator within 6 inches of this model. Until the end of that phase, they get precision on all of their attacks. That's pretty cool. That makes you, again, like one of the premier, like, anti-character armies in the game, or like sniper armies in the game. Very powerful. Kind of sucks it only goes off once, but that makes sense because that's pretty damn powerful. His second ability, Glamour of Tzeentch, it's an aura, so while friendly Thousand Suns units within 6 inches, including himself, they get the stealth ability. That also incredibly powerful. -1 to hit is a very strong ability. For certain armies like orcs or whatever, like that's just going to take them off a lot. It's too bad that he costs so much, because I like everything about this guy. Precision, like, you can build for that and have just, like, a sneaky little... Heck, dude, you even get Flamer Rubrics close enough to a character. It's just going to delete pretty much any character in the game. Just about, like, any, you know, reasonable one. Very powerful, but a bit too expensive for what I want. I will put him in... I think I'll put him in B tier. Below the Sorcerer's cheaper, so... yeah. Demon Prince with Wings, so he's cheaper, which, I mean, his abilities aren't as good, so I guess it makes sense, but better movement, slightly less toughness, whatever. First ability is going to be Sorcerer's Fire, so each time this model ends a normal move, you can select an enemy that you moved over, and you roll 9d6, each 6 is a 1 mortal wound. It's a pretty crap ability. You'll do 1.5 mortal wounds on average. Nah, that's terrible on a 190-point model. I hate it. Aether Stride, though, that's actually pretty interesting. At the end of your opponent's turn, as long as he's not within engagement range, you can basically deep strike him in your next movement phase. That's great. That plays into making us one of the most mobile armies in the game. I like it a lot, but not for 190 points, because then too you got your 9-inch charge after that. Kind of questionable with it. I don't think he's like terrible by any means at all, but I think there's other options you bring beforehand, so I'll put him in C for now. Next up, we got Zangor Shaman. This guy's actually pretty good. If you're bringing, like, Zangor Enlightened, for example, this guy's really good. 60 points. He does only have a 5-up save and a 6-up invul, so he's very flimsy, 4 wounds. But you do get some interesting abilities. You get some good ones. Dark Blessing. So while he's leading a unit, they all get a 5-up, feel no pain. We love to see it. And then his second one, Bestial Prophet. So while he's leading a unit, they all get +1 to hit. That is super good with the Enlightened. Enlightened, we'll get to in a bit. I'll try not to spoil them too much, but they basically have precision. So you're getting them to hit a bit better with those precision attacks. We love it a lot. I do think if you're bringing Enlightened, very good chance that you bring this guy as well. It does up their point cost because they're very cheap otherwise, but I like them a lot. I'm going to put them A tier. I think it's solid A. All right, for troops, we got the Rubrics. Fantastic troop. This is one of the best troops in the game in my eyes. Yeah, they might be. They're up there for sure. I think the loadout you'll bring more commonly is all Warp Flamers, or 9 Warp Flame or 8 Warp Flamers, and then the Soul Reaper cannon with the pistol. I like it a lot. Lets you play the Overwatch phase, which is like busted for certain armies. Thousand Sun's going to be one of them because of that combo. That said, the Infernal Bolt Guns are fantastic as well. Getting AP1 on your bolters, we like it a lot. Also, too, it's always 2 shots, even out to max range. Very strong. Very, very good. For their ability, also pretty good, so they get to reroll wound rolls of 1, and if they hit a target that's within range of an objective marker that you don't control, you reroll all those wounds. Holy shit, man. With those flamers, like, you're just going to do, like, outrageous amounts of damage with that. Also, too, if you bring the Icon, which of course you will, each time they get a critical wound, you improve the AP by 1. Also fantastic. You're pushing up to AP2. That's basically like elite models territory right there. These guys are freaking fantastic. They go straight to S tier. Straight to S tier in my eyes. I think you always bring some in every list. Next up, we got Cultist. So these guys, they cost more than the regular Cultists. These guys are actually 65 points instead of 55. That said, they bring some pretty good abilities. The first great one is Scouts. Having that ability to get up the board earlier, get to the objectives quicker than your opponent, always super valuable. I like that a lot. The second ability, I think this is the only CP region that Thousand Suns get access to. So each time this unit either destroys an enemy unit or is destroyed itself, you roll a dice. On a 2-up, you gain 1 command point. I've been actually, I've been thinking about like ways to use these guys, and one clever way I was kind of thinking about is you reserve them. That way, on turn 2 or 3 or 4, or whenever, you can bring them in to hopefully help finish off a really wounded unit, because you really do want to try to fish for that CP if you're able to. That said, I wouldn't throw a turn just in the hopes of gaining that CP, but if you're able to, if there's just one model left on some rinky-dinky little squad, 100% try to use these guys to get that. It does stink that they're 65 points and not 55, but they do have like 2 abilities, which I like a lot. I'm not positive I put them in S tier like I normally would with Cultists, but I'll definitely put them in A+ tier. Another unit that you might see in every single list, or could definitely bring in every single list. I'll just put them like mid A+. I like them a lot. Alright, and then we got Zingor. So these guys are like melee cultists. They are strength 5, so that's pretty good. We like that. But I don't think they bring enough to the table to warrant the 65 point cost. They might be 60. Let's check. Zingors. Okay, they are 65, so same as cultist. Again, as usual, melee is a lot harder. Yeah, it is a lot harder than ranged weapons, so I usually score those a bit less than others. They are OC2, so that helps. Their ability, Relic Hunters, so at the end of your command phase, you roll D6 for each objective marker that has 1 or more units from 1 or more Zangors next to it. And on a 4-up, you get 1 Cabal point. I don't think that's that good. Even if you had 3 freaking Zangors near him, you get 1 to 2 Cabal points on average. Really not the best. You can reroll, so if you give them the War Gear, which of course you will, you can reroll Battle Shock, which is helpful, and you can also reroll Advance and Charge, which helps a lot. They are really flimsy, 6-up save, 6-up invul, so they'll also die like flies. I don't know. I don't really like the Zangors. I think you just bring Cultist every time. They're not terrible with their melee, so I will put them... I think I'll put them in C. Alright. Thousand Suns Chaos Spawn. This is another one of those examples where you scratch your head, because these guys are so much better than every other version of Spawn that I've seen, and then they're cheaper on top of it. The Chaos ones are 80 points, and I don't think they get, like, anything at all. Whereas this one's gets a 5-up invul, which is incredibly valuable. That's usually one of the biggest issues, is they don't really have very good saves. That's very, very good. And they're only 65 points. Way cheaper. That changes the whole calculation with them. Normally, I rate Spawn really low. 65 points with the 5-up invul and the 5-up Feel No Pain. Like... that's pretty worth it. I would take it 8 wounds, 8 T5 wounds for 65 points. Not bad at all. Now, do you bring them every single list? Not sure. You're trying to fit in a lot of other fun stuff, but I definitely put them probably top of B, potentially even belong in A. I like them a fair bit, though. I do wish you could bring bigger squads, bigger than just 2, but whatever. Scarab Occult Terminators, like one of the faces of Thousand Suns. These guys are still fantastic. These are excellent Terminators. They are quite spendy. They're 205 for 5 of them. So, you know, bringing a 10-man 410 points, that's a large chunk of your list. So it is kind of hard to fit them in, but you kind of want to. For their ability, so basically anytime they're hit, as long as they still have a Psyker model with them, which they always will, anytime they're hit by an attack with a higher strength than their toughness, you get -1 to wound. So that makes these guys really resilient. Got the 2-up, 4-up, like all the Terminators. We love to see it. They also get the Hellfire Missile Rack, so that's giving you a few 3 damage, strength 10 attacks. Fantastic. And then you throw the Soul Reaper Cannon in there for 24-inch, 6 attacks, hit on 3, strength 6, -1, 1 damage. You get some good plink damage. These guys, like they've always been, pretty damn good. They're really spendy, so it hurts to fit them in, but yeah, you'll bring them. Yeah, we'll put them A+ tier. I don't know if they belong at the bottom, but they're somewhere A+. Potentially even S tier. Zinger Enlightened. So when you first read the index and it doesn't list the points or nothing, you think like, yeah, these guys kind of suck. Normally hitting on 4s, only 2 attacks each, but it is 2 damage. But once you see the points for them, yeah, these guys are fantastic. These are almost auto-include in my eyes. 45 points for what you're getting. And what you're getting is the Fake Caster Great Bow. So 30-inch range, lethal hits, precision. hitting on, or 2 attacks, hitting on 4s normally, but you put the character in, they're hitting on 3s now. Strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. That is fantastic. I believe they come in squads of 3. Yeah, 3 to 6 with the leader. So you're going to be running those every single time. I don't think you run the spears, like that'd be silly. Their excuse me, their ability is once per turn when an enemy unit is within ends a normal, advance, or fallback move within 9 inches, you can roll a d6 and move that many inches away. That is helpful if they're trying to charge you or something. Potentially you'll be able to roll away from them, but it's variable. You might roll a 1 or 2 or 3 a lot of those times, so it's not always that valuable. They're also OC2. I don't normally rate that highly, but again, 45-point unit. 10-inch move. These guys are amazing. I'm putting them in S tier, honestly. I would be tempted to bring them every single list. Even if you don't use them for the great bows, just use them for scoring or screening or a million other reasons to bring these guys. So cheap. I love them. I love them to death. Thousand Suns Defiler. So, again, he's not psychic. He's not going to have any psychic attacks, so it's going to be hard to get, like, combos with him, but it's still Defiler. Slightly cheaper than the other codexes, so only 200 points instead of the 205 you normally see. Everything that normally comes with the Defiler, so he's going to ignore monsters and vehicles, that's helpful. Also ignores terrain 4 inches or less. Needed that because he's kind of a pain in the ass to maneuver otherwise. Got the Defiler cannon, so d6 plus 3 blast, we love it. Strength 10, minus 1, 3 damage, fantastic. As usual, I'd bring the twin las cannons, because while Thousand Suns can deal with heavy armor with all the shenanigans they got, it is nice to have like dedicated AT weapons to toss in there. So I like them a fair bit. Kind of expensive. You also got the War Dogs to consider instead. So I think he belongs in B tier, somewhere in B tier. Mutalith Vortex Beast. So this guy is another like skill pick or finesse pick or whatever. He brings some very valuable abilities that you can you want to like plan ahead for. Like this guy's pretty tricky. I like him a lot. Tricky as in like he can do tricks. Not that hard to use. So excellent profile. 10-inch move, T10, 4-up save, but the 5-up end ball, 13 wounds. We love to see it. He's got a few different profiles for the range, but I like his beam the most. So that's 24-inch range, only 1 attack, but it does get devastating wounds. Hits on a 3, strength 18, my god. Minus 4 AP, my god. Damage D6 plus 6, my god. I freaking love this guy. He's also got the melee. He's got a really good melee profile. 5 attacks, hit on 3, strength 9, minus 2, 4 damage each. That's fantastic. I believe his points is like 130. Let's see, 145. So he is like tidbit on the spendy side, but you look at his abilities. So his first one, Mutating Vortex. So at the end of your movement phase, you can roll a d6 for every enemy within 6 inches of them. On a 2 to 3, they take 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, they take D3. And on a 6, they take D6. So already that's pretty good. And then every unit in range must take a battle shock. Doesn't matter if they were wounded or not, they still take it. Like, you know, it is a battle shock on your turn, so it goes away on their turn. But it happens in the movement phase. So there's a lot of stratagems that you can negate with that. And it'll also help you score your secondaries. So I actually still like that a lot. His other ability is Immaterial Flare. So while friendly Thousand Sun units within 6 inches of this model, each time they use a ritual, you double the range. Suddenly you're getting 36-inch range Doom Bolts. Like, this is fantastic, and almost, it is an auto-include, especially if you're going for the double Doom Bolt or double whatever, double Temporal Surge. I like this guy a shitload. It helps that he has the good damage to help shore up everything else. Love him a lot. Honestly, probably S tier. Probably S tier. Oh, my beloved Helldrake. I love this guy, but he always gets shat on. So it's a Helldrake. He's got the Flame Wreath ability, so basically whenever he ends a normal move, you can select somebody that moved over and they don't get cover. That's cute. You do have the AP to toss out there too, so that lets you keep it. So that is valuable in that sense, but he's a bit too expensive. I believe he's 205. 195, so he is cheaper than like CSM, but I don't think he brings enough to the table to warrant that. He does have the Helldrake Claw, so they're anti-fly 2-up, devastating wounds, so you'll do pretty good versus like Tau battlesuits of the sort. It is only 5 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 7, minus 1, 2 damage, so it won't do that much, but you know, getting like 4 to 6 mortal wounds on average, not that bad. Still too expensive for what you're getting. I think you got better options, so I'm just going to put him in the C tier, I think. Hellbrute. So for all the other Chaos armies, Hellbrute is normally really good. For 1,000 Suns, I don't think so. I don't think it's that valuable. Essentially, he has a 9-inch aura where anytime you use a ritual, you get 1 Cabal point back. I don't think it's that powerful because normally you're going to be using 2, maybe 3 Cabals, Cabal abilities each turn. So you only be getting 2 or 3. Like, sure, that lets you get the first one to reroll the armor save, but I don't think it's worth the 150 points or whatever you're paying for this guy. That said, he does help shore up your AT. You can bring him with the missile launcher and las cannon. Preferably, you bring him with like hammer and the las cannon. But either way, a little bit spendy for what you're bringing. I don't think the ability is as valuable in the other armies. I think he's just a C tier. Way too expensive for what you're getting there. Motherfiend. So he's 140 points, which is fair price, I'd say. He's one of the few like dedicated melee units that 1,000 Suns get, so I do think he is like warranted thinking about. Got the standard profile, so 10-inch move, T10, we love it. 3-up save, 5-up invul, 12 wounds. I would bring the magma cutters every single time over the lasher tendrils. Gives you more of the anti-tank that we need, or like anti-elite that we want. And then Mauler Fist, you get so 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 14, minus 2 AP, D6 plus 1 damage, fantastic. Also, too, basically, so he can use Heroic Intervention for free, and you use it even if somebody else used it in the phase. So that's great. You just keep them near the guys that you want to protect. If an enemy ends up charging them, you get to charge into and also help out. I like this guy a lot. 140 points, very fair. Even if you don't use him for like his damage output and whatnot, he helps with the threat saturation and like distraction current effects. So I like him a boatload. Do you bring him over a War Dog? Who knows? But I'm going to put him in A tier, probably even above the Shaman. And then next up, we got one of the All-Stars. Just like in CSM, these guys are amazing. I think they are auto-include. They're freaking way cheaper than CSM 2. These are 135 points. Like, sure, they don't get the Dark Packs or the Devastating Wounds, but either way, man, they get an ability that is also very powerful. Their ability, speaking of, Blazing Salvos, so anytime you hit a unit, they're suppressed, and they have to subtract 1 from their hit rolls. That's amazing. -1 to hit is a very strong ability. Like I mentioned earlier with like Orcs, man, that's just going to shut them down completely, at least until they get into melee, and even then, it hurts them there. Very powerful ability. I would do the same as CSM, so I would do triple Ectoplasm most of the time, or maybe 2 Forge Fiends with triple Plasma, and 1 of them with the autocannon. Autocannon version, Math Hammer-wise, will do more damage on average to most units, and without the devastating wounds that CSM have, it's even more of a toss-up, but I still think the Plasma's better because of the strength and the AP. We definitely want that. The Plasma, by the way, so you get 3 of them. It's Blast, very important. 36-inch range, fantastic. D3, whatever. Hitting on 3s, strength 10, excellent. Minus 3 AP, 3 damage. Fantastic. This is, yeah, auto-include. I would still bring 3 in every single list, especially at that price. Like, holy cow, man. 135 is fantastic. I'm actually going to put them pretty high. I think I put them middle of S tier. I love them. I love them, love them, love them. Alright, 1,000 Suns Land Raider. So, it's a Land Raider in every way, shape, and form. You know it, you love it. What's interesting is using the Temporal Surge on this guy, especially if you have, like, Magnus nearby. And I give him 24-inch move, I do believe. So, that's interesting there. I'm not sure. I need to read it if you'd still be able to disembark, but either way, like, hot damn, getting a toughness 12 model like that into your opponent's face. Heck, you can even use it for, like, move blocking, especially if they don't have the, strength to knock this guy out on the first turn. Very powerful ability right there. That said, you're still paying 250 points. You bring a lot of units. You bring a few Forge Fiends for that cost. So I'm not sure. I definitely don't think he's like auto-include at all. But there will be times where T12, like, basically he just, like, you get to use him to just fuck around with your opponent the entire game. I'm going to put him, I think he's B tier. Somewhere in B. Too expensive. If somehow he was cheaper, obviously he'd go higher. Predator, Annihilator, and Destructor, I'll do these together. So, just like every Chaos Army, they're actually pretty decent. I think they're all right. And yet again, you compare them to the other codexes, they're cheaper here. They're 125 and 130, I think it is. Let's check. Yeah, 120, 125. Even cheaper. Like, that's ridiculously cheap. For T10, 11 wounds, 3 up. No invul, but whatever. I think they're worthy of consideration. Do you bring them all the time? No. Do you bring them if you don't have better options? Like, fuck yeah, man. If you have 3 predators and you don't have, like, war dogs or, you know, mauler fiends, whatever, yeah, dude, like, don't worry about bringing them. I'm going to put them, they're just solid B tier. Solid B tier. Super cheap. They might even belong in A tier, honestly, because you do get the T10. No end ball kind of hurts. I'll put them high B tier. I would, as always, bring the las cannon version, because, again, you get the anti-tank. Rhino, the beloved Rhino. Yet again, he's cheaper than the others. I forget if he's 70 or 75. 75, but yeah, you get a small discount on him. It's a Rhino. You know it. You love it. I think they are still valuable to include for Thousand Suns, because you are, while you do have ways like teleport people all around, when you are on foot, you are slightly slow. Maybe not with Magnus with the +2 move. So actually, when you consider all that, I mean, is he as useful as he needed? Yeah, you give him Temporal Surge, 12 move base, so again, you get somebody across the table. I actually do think that's pretty valuable, and him being discounted, love it. I'll put him, I think he's just solid B, probably middle of B somewhere. Alright, and lastly, we got the Vindicator. So, you want to love him. He has a very interesting weapon profile. So the Demolisher Cannon, 24-inch range, D6 +3, hit on 3, strength 14, so it's sort of anti-knight, -3 AP, D6 damage. Kind of sucks that's variable damage, but strength 14 is what we're looking for. It's got the Siege shield still, so he's able to blast people in melee with them, which is whatever. T11, that's good. That's one of the stronger profiles we got. Issue is he's still too expensive. I believe he's just 200 flat compared to 205 in the other armies. You can bring, again, you bring a lot of stuff for it. And then again, Thousand Suns don't necessarily have that many other options for anti-knight. So he is worthy of consideration. I do not think he's bad at all. I just don't think he's like, he's too expensive. He needs a price break. Like 180 or so, I think would be fair. Maybe even lower, like 170. Then I'd really be tempted to bring him. I'll put him upper B, because, again, he gives you anti-knight capability, and he'd be a very good fire magnet, with the 2-up save, by the way, which is helpful. Even without the invol, it doesn't really matter, because mostly you're going to see -2 AP most of the time. So that's it for the army. So hopefully you guys notice, like, holy shit, man, Thousand Suns are looking really good. There's some stuff that might get toned down, maybe, but luckily, well, I guess you could say luckily, GW's too distracted with other armies at the moment, I think, to really pay too much attention to him. I think 100%, if you're a good general, 100% you can win tournaments with Thousand Suns. I'm liking them a lot. It's hard to write a list, for real. Every time I write a list, like, I look at them like, shit, I'm at like 2,800 points. How do I cut 800 points off this? I think, too, what I really like is, like, they're going to be a technical army. Like, they have a really high skill ceiling. So you'll be able to, like, plan out little combos before the game even starts. Like, in your list building, you should be planning out the little tricks you're going to use with them, which I think is really interesting. And it's great to have armies that, like, yeah, you can put your time into and you know, prove that you're the best general with. So really happy with Thousand Suns. I think you'll be seeing them a lot. What's great about that is, hey, maybe some of the anti-psyker stuff out there will actually be useful. That is a big weakness of them, but I don't think you'll see it that often, because again, it's one army. There's only a couple armies that's really like a big theme that you'll see, so I wouldn't worry too much about the anti-psyker, though it is out there. But yeah, I love the Thousand Suns. I like them a lot this edition. Hopefully you guys found this enjoyable. As always, definitely let me know what you guys would have changed. Let me know what opinions you guys have on, you know, what I might have rated wrong or what you agree with. Usually, I like to get suggestions for the channel, so if you guys have any ideas and stuff I can do better or content you'd like to see soon, I would love to hear it. Right now, I'm trying to finish all the Chaos Indexes, so I think we got what? We got like World Eaters. World Eaters and then Demons are coming up, so, you know, keep your eyes peeled for them. If you guys enjoy this stuff, please consider liking and subscribing. I really do enjoy doing this, and so that gives me the motivation to keep going. Either way, hope you guys are staying safe out there. Good luck, and enjoy your night.